That's right. You guys get me today. Welcome to Tuesday Morning with Mandy. I'm really excited for this morning and for everyone to be here. As we roll into the fourth quarter, we're stepping into a time of year that seasonally has always brought some change. So today we're going to dive into something critical, which is helping our clients and ourselves win in a market that we're seeing is changing really fast. What we're seeing right now that we've talked about for the last few weeks is that the days on market is climbing and expireds are increasing. And I want to talk about how that's not a signal of market collapse, but it's about seasonality. And the key of that is how we help our clients interpret that shift. And we're going to get into that today. I also have some really exciting announcements. I know you all wanted to see it again. So I have some exciting announcements. I'm going to take a little bit of a detour from what we typically look at when it comes to our mission and vision and values. This is the screen we talk about every week, and though it's important, I wanted to share our leadership team's mission that we all got together to talk about at the fourth quarter last year. We all got together to talk about what it is that we want to deliver to all of you and what we want to do as a local leadership team. And here's what we all came up with together. At Keller Williams Milwaukee, we are the premier residential real estate brokerage in southeastern Wisconsin, committed to delivering an unparalleled agent experience that empowers growth, fuels success, and enriches their communities we serve. We believe in custom-tailored support, dynamic training, and vibrant and inclusive cultures that make businesses both purposeful and fun. So I have some exciting announcements to share and some new roles and fresh faces that are joining the leadership team. Because a huge part of what this embodies is having the right people in the right roles and leaders who care deeply about helping you grow your businesses, reach your goals, and feel really supported. I'm so proud of the leadership team that we serve on and how much we enjoy building a culture that you all love and feel fulfilled by. So with that, I'm going to go through and share some really exciting updates and a few introductions of some new faces of the incredible people who will continue to make our market centers thrive. The first one is a very familiar face. Willis has stepped into a new role of Director of Agent Experience at the Innovation location. He and his husband recently bought a home there, and this move allows him to work where he lives and share his light within that community, just as he did so beautifully here in the North Shore. Willis is a true light, an innovator, and an implementer, and we're so grateful for what he brings to our organization. So congrats to Willis and his new role at NL. Next is another familiar face, Caitlyn Makio, who's back from having her new baby, Vince. She's actually moving from Innovation to North Shore because she resides in Fox Point. She's definitely known for her Ritz-Carlton level of service, and she is a true Swiss Army knife for those of us on the leadership team. There's nothing that she can't do from an agent services perspective. So we're lucky to have her leadership, care, and expertise continuing to elevate us here in the North Shore office. The next one's going to be a new face for many of you. We meant what we said last week, that AI is really not replacing our quality and personal experience that we offer from a compliance standpoint. I couldn't be more excited to welcome Ashley Myhre to our compliance team. Ashley has had the opportunity to experience this business from many different angles, including working in title, serving as a managing broker, and supporting agents as a coach, a trainer, and of course, thriving in sales. I was shocked to learn that Ashley has had her license since 2005, despite how young you look and your incredible skin, and has had her broker's license since 2012. She's a lifelong student of the industry, always willing to help others, and I'm so happy that you decided to join the team. And for those of you who don't know Ashley, I can't wait for you guys to get to know her on a leadership level. She'll be helping a lot on Kimmy's team with not only compliance questions at every single location, but also reviewing files. So you might see some notes from Ashley. The other is another familiar face, but new to the leadership team. I want to welcome Sara Jo to the leadership team. Sara Jo is filling some big shoes of Janine Warner and is our new productivity coach in the North Shore. We couldn't be more excited. Sara Jo lives in Shorewood and is a proud mom of twins, and she brings a teacher's heart and a true coaching mindset, combining structure and accountability to the PC program. We're so happy to have you. Last but not least, I want to reintroduce Allie. Allie started with us at Prestige, and she is now going to be joining us in the North Shore a few days a week. So I'm sure you've seen Allie up at the front. She's been an incredible addition to our team, working very closely with Lindsay and helping fulfill a lot of your orders in the marketing concierge, as well as bringing that Ritz-Carlton level of service to the front desk in North Shore. Allie, thank you so much for going back and forth between both offices and always with a smile on your face. We're happy to have you. So this is our leadership team. It's growing. When you see them around the office or at events, please take a moment to introduce yourself and connect with them. They really are here to support you, to serve you. So don't be afraid to reach out, introduce yourself, and always ask for help. That's what we're here for. I also want to let you know that we're not done yet. We have a very exciting announcement coming soon in regards to having a productivity coach specific to the innovation office. So stay tuned for more information on that as well. Next, I want to remind you all while we're talking about leadership that we shared our mission statement with you. If you feel like we're delivering on that, if you feel like there's places we're falling short, please look for the Top Workplaces link to fill that out honestly and give us your feedback, and we'll see if we have another win this year or not. Next, I wanted to hit on the Milwaukee app. How many of you have downloaded and are using it? We love it. Yeah. I want to thank all of you who have downloaded it. We did hit our goal of over 301 of you have downloaded it, are using it, are in it. Our goal for next week is 400. Willis did have a fun little contest going on. We are asking for a lot of your feedback, though we tried it and tried to break it and tried to make it better. You're all in there now, and it's even a bigger test case. So any issues you see with it, any feedback you can give us, we're all ears for it. The winners of the semi-fabulous giveaway from last week are Jessica and Deneen. So Willis will be reaching out with your semi-fabulous giveaway. Another way in which we have the ability to receive your feedback when you find errors within the app, I'm going to play a little short video for you next so that it's a lot easier for you to help us make the tool better and continue to add information into the brain of the KW Milwaukee app.
We're back this week with another app feature. Go ahead and open the app, and just like last week in the bottom, press the Ask Us button. In this case, we're going to ask when the next team meeting is. So type that in and press the red arrow. It's going to think about the answer, but here it's going to give us the incorrect answer. When you know something is wrong, it's super helpful if you can report that an incorrect answer was given. So you can go back to the main screen and at the bottom select Report Issue. Once there, you can hit the Navigate button and go back to the screen that gave you the incorrect answer. Then press the Draw button and draw a circle around that incorrect answer, as well as type in the box under the What's Wrong question that the response given was not the right response. These fixes are not immediate by our app development team. However, they are all flagged as urgent and high priority, so we should see the fixes in a good amount of time. After you've done that, press Submit, and you can then continue using the app as normal. Also remember to look for updates via the Android and iPhone.
All right, so the more we feed it, the better it gets. So, and also if you don't want to go through that system, just reach out to any of your leadership team members and we'll make sure to make it better every day. So if you haven't done so yet, please jump in and download the app from the App Store. All right, Lindsay, next we're KW MKE in the App Store.
All right, quick update for you all, and more of an ask. So every year we put out the Community Pulse magazine, and next year we're preparing for our 2026 or 2025 recap of the year. And we really want to make this bigger and better. And so that's what we're always looking to do with any of our marketing materials. And so I'm really excited to kind of share with you what we'll be doing as a preview. And so what we plan to do, along with the market statistics that we've always put into this magazine, is we're going to be kind of curating hidden gems, best of spots, go-to vendors that your clients love. And we want to hear from you. So we want your feedback on exactly what sort of hidden gems and go-to vendors that you provide to your clients. So we are asking you to submit your season by season best of spots, trusted go-to vendors, and the places and pros that you recommend without hesitation. So then what we're going to do is we're going to feature your insights in your voice so that you can hand clients a very polished, hyper-local guide that showcases your neighborhood and community expertise, which then strengthens your relationships with your clients. So some examples could be local flower shops, med spas, cleaning companies. What's your favorite rooftop bar? Boutique hotel stays, bakeries, ski resorts, ice rinks. It goes on and on and on. Basically, this is anything that you would recommend to your clients, whether they're moving to Milwaukee or they're just moving from Brookfield to Racine. So we really want to put together a curated magazine that you are proud to present to your clients next year. The other exciting thing is that we're going to be doing this quarterly so that those statistics stay up to date throughout the entire year. And so we'll be doing that every rolling 12-month stats for each municipality throughout the 5-county metro Milwaukee area. So go ahead and submit your ideas now. Give us your best suggestions, the ones you share exclusively with your clients. We're going to gather this content and we're going to put this together into that 2026 Community Pulse magazine for next year. We'll have those ready come January. So submit your ideas right now. There's no kind of deadline for this, but the sooner that you submit these ideas, the better, and the better chance that they'll be in the first round of the Q1 Community Pulse magazine for next year. So any questions, let me know, but otherwise scan that QR code. I'll also be posting this on our socials so that you have that link where you can fill out the form and share with us your best suggestions. All right, thanks. All right, go ahead, Steph. I think we have you on deck for our compliance updates for today.
Yes, good morning, Mandy. Thank you. So just a few reminders from the compliance team this morning. Just a few things that came up more than once in the past few weeks, so we wanted to bring it to the greater group to remind you guys of some things. So next slide. First up, around seller surveillance. So just a reminder with the prevalence of Ring doorbells, your nursery room cameras, your pet cams. Just a reminder that sellers do not need to disclose the presence of these cameras prior to a showing, prior to an open house. They are prohibited from having a camera in a bathroom, of course. They are prohibited from using footage for any other reason besides a court order. So have peace of mind knowing that. But again, the question has come up a few times in the past couple of weeks on whether or not we need to disclose the presence of cameras in a home, and the seller does not have to. So just as a reminder then, when as a buyer's agent, when coaching our buyers on showing etiquette and how a showing is going to go, make the assumption that you are going to be on camera, especially in the case of being mindful of what we're saying, but also in the sense of getting into discussing possible terms of an offer. As a buyer's agent, do you want to protect your buyer in that sense, making sure that we're not revealing our cards on camera to a seller? So again, our takeaway here, it's not prohibited or it's not required to disclose. and just walk into that showing, walk into that open house under the assumption that you are probably on camera. So, all right. And then next up, Mandy, we've got reminders around security deposits and removal deposits in our occupancy agreements. So if there is going to be a post-close occupancy period or a pre-close occupancy negotiated in our offers, and a security deposit is going to be a part of those occupancy terms, just a reminder that Keller Williams will not hold on to these security deposits for our buyers or our sellers. The buyer/owner may hold on to it. We could work it out with our title companies and check in with them on whether or not they'd be willing to hold on to it, but Keller Williams will not be holding those in our trust accounts. In our compliance review process and our contract review process, if any of us see that it's indicated that we are to hold on to the security deposit, we will kick that back and ask for it to be amended out of the offer, or changed in the offer, excuse me. So please be mindful of that. It's just, we run into way too many headaches with it, especially if there's a dispute between the parties on how much is to be given back. So, all right. And then the last one, just a reminder on this, again, came up just a couple of times in the past few weeks, but we haven't run into this too often, actually. But just a reminder now, with the buyer agency commission, we need to indicate a specific amount of rate of compensation in lines 32 and 33 when we're indicating what our commission is going to be. So it cannot be a range, it cannot be a sliding scale. It needs to be a firm set percentage of the purchase price. So you can see there, I have it boxed in 2.4% of the purchase price. It's got to be set in stone, not a range, not a sliding scale, not open-ended. And that's that. I think the last slide is just a reminder. Lindsay and I think it's been a minute since we've done this training, but we're going to be doing the compliance and command training during the contract training hour next week, Monday at 12 p.m. via Zoom. So if you need a refresher on zip forms, ask questions on zip forms, or creating opportunities, please join us. That's all I got.
Great, thanks, Steph.
Yep.
All right, so next we're going to dive into something critical, which is helping our clients and ourselves win in a market that's really changing fast. We've all heard the frustrated seller, why isn't my home sold? And it's not that we've done something wrong. It's that the market has really shifted under our feet here going into the fall. So I want to take a quick look at what the data is telling us. So days on market we're seeing is up 4% for September of last year. 3% slower versus just August. So we are entering into that period where naturally, due to the seasonality of the business, days on market is going up slightly. The truth is the market in this fall is way more active than we have seen in the last 2 fall seasons. But the catch that we're going to talk about today is that our clients all have very short memories, right? So their recency bias and remembering how fast homes sold in the spring can kill a listing opportunity if we're not managing those expectations right up front. We know this to be true because we're seeing a record number of expired listings. This is the highest it has been in over 2 years in the local Milwaukee market. The number of expired listings is up 22% year over year compared to September, and they are up 24% compared to August 2025 and a massive 38% compared to September of 2023. And so what we're going to look at today is that these aren't just numbers, those are opportunities that are really being lost due to misaligned pricing, poor communication, and some unrealistic expectations of those sellers. So all of this really tells us something important, and that's that the market isn't rejecting homes, it's rejecting the positioning. So a mispriced listing, you're going to have longer days on market. Overpromised expectations, your client's going to be frustrated. Communication gap, it's an expired opportunity. So we're going to talk about what separates the listings that expire from the ones that are selling fast. And we know that right sizing your client expectations, communicating effectively to influence client decisions, and pricing strategically versus emotionally is what's going to get you there. Now, it wouldn't be a Mornings with Mandy without a few special guests. So I have some guests here this morning who are pricing really well, have the lowest days on market right now. I didn't look at overall data. I really boiled into the last 6 months. So since that market has shifted, who's doing this really well and at a high level. So here's who we're going to hear from this morning. I'm really excited. We have Marcus Auerbach, who in the last 6 months has had 16 new listings, and his team has averaged a 15 days on market, and he personally has averaged 3 days on market, which is over 90% faster than the average days on market. Marcus, are you there? Good morning.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. All right, Marcus. So you're clearly beating out the market average here. Hey, Willis, I'm pinned for some reason, so people are just staring at me. Can you make sure we get Marcus up on the screen, please, or someone else? All right, Marcus, what are you seeing right now when it comes to seller pricing expectations, and how are you helping them with the reality of today's market versus, what we had seen this spring?
Yeah, I think you touched already on it with the recency bias. People remember stories that the neighbors told them, how quickly their home sold and how they had 5 offers and going well over list price. So that's always a tough conversation. And I think the combination of, I'm a data guy, so I always lead with the data, I bring a chart if possible, so I have a visual. But I think it's also necessary to kind of wrap that into a story, into storytelling, because not everybody likes to make the decisions just based on data. Some people respond better to a story. So telling them how this usually works in the fall season and wrapping it a little bit in stories is usually a good idea.
Yeah, I love that. Gary Keller says in Shift that you have to price ahead of the market. That all sounds really great, but how can you predict? We don't all have a crystal ball. How are you able to predict where the market is going when you're going into a listing appointment and talking about pricing?
Yeah, so the MLS provides us actually with really good data, and if you're looking for a chart, for example, you can look at the what is the tab called? The market summary on the MLS. I'm looking at it right now. You can look at how the prices have evolved. It gives you a chart over the last 12 months. And you can specifically also set the location. So you can have it for all of the Flex MLS area, which is a lot of southeastern and surrounding area in Wisconsin. Or you can just say, give it to me for Milwaukee County or Ozaukee County, whatever you want. And then you have a chart. Might be a good idea to just print, the last 12 months and the preceding 12 months, so you can show a little bit the ups and downs. And then I'm also a big fan of the sold to list ratio, because that really tells you how much negotiable the market is right now. And we're trending back to from 102, 103% back down to, I think this month we will probably end up at 100 or just under 100, which means that buyers starting to negotiate a little bit. And that's the data that I usually bring and try to get across. And you have to. It's a little bit like with the home inspection. You have to set the stage and make your case before you're actually dealing with the issue. So just like it's a good idea to before you do a home inspection with the buyer, to tell them, you're going to be really devastated when you see this thing written up on 30 pages. It's going to make your heart sink. So they're emotionally prepared that it's going to happen. And in the same fashion, I also do it with listings. I try to make the case about how the market is working right now and show them the data before we actually get to the point where we are discussing the list price. Because if you're discussing the list price first and then you start bringing the data to support it, then you look like you're defending what you just said. It's better to educate them first, and then you don't have to defend your position.
Yeah, I love that. What I'm hearing you say too is that you're using numbers to speak to the logic and you're telling stories to speak to the emotion. So you're definitely kind of hitting them on both sides of it. I know we went over your numbers and it sounds like maybe you haven't had this happen in a while, but in your years in real estate, when a listing isn't getting activity, how are you deciding when it's time to adjust that price, and how are you having that conversation?
Yeah, in a similar fashion, you have to you have to set up the stage before. So we have a little PDF that I like sharing that I think I ripped it off from somewhere in the KW universe, but it's basically based on a large data set, and it says if you have this many showings and you didn't have an offer, you need to reduce your price by X. And then you just introduce them to the concept before you actually put the listing live, especially if you're worried about where you're positioned with the list price. And then you can say, all right, here's the data. If we get 10 showings, if we get 5 showings, if we get no showings, what does that tell us? This is the market, giving us a message. And then you already planted that seed. And, after 10 days, if you only had 3 showings, then you can go back and say, all right, remember that PDF that I shared with you? We only had 3 showings. That is not great. Then you can go back to that reference. And you can also pull in, of course, the feedback that you've gotten from individual agents. But I think the main thing is to have that conversation before you actually come in that situation and not after, because then you're looking defensive.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. This wasn't a question we talked about yesterday, but you said you use stories when you're meeting with people. Can you give us an example of a story you'd use in a listing appointment to speak to the emotion of the current market?
Yeah, a story that I often tell are clients that I had in Wauwatosa, and they started looking in the fall market. It's a really cool story because I remember her because she's an Air Force pilot. She actually flies one of the tanker planes that we've stationed here at Milwaukee Airport. I'm like, you're what? So that's why the story always stuck. And they started looking for a home with me I think in November. And I tried to tell them how the market is compared how it's going to be after New Year's. And they listened to me, and then they said, yeah, we're going to look in January and February. And, when in February, when we were back in the market and it was really competitive, they realized what I was telling them. And I remember they said, you told us this in November. We remember, we just didn't understand how big the difference is. And that's a story that seems to resonate with people, and I tell it in variations also for people who want to list their home. And the takeaway really is oftentimes, it may not be in your best interest to put your home on the market in November, or certainly not in December. What you're basically looking at is if you put your home on the market in spring, if the market turns out to be like it was this year, you might be looking at 2 or 3 or even more competing offers. You may not have a home inspection. If we put it on the market in December, then it may be that we have a home inspection. Maybe we have to wait for a couple of weeks for getting an offer. Maybe we have to be a little bit more conservative with the list price. So the conversation really becomes what is your holding cost and how much will it cost you to actually wait a month or 2 before you're putting the home on the market. And yeah, that's, sometimes not great because you're deferring your business into the future. But when you really look at the best interest for the client, it comes down to understanding what is their motivation. Sometimes they're moving, they're moving out of state. They have to list it and sell it right now. Sometimes they have the time to wait, and then it's like, okay, how much is that going to cost me in holding cost, etc., and how much is going to yield that to me? And I think those are the things where you actually become a trusted advisor to your client, and not just somebody who is spinning the
Salesman.
story in a way that it's beneficial to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Marcus. Anything else you want to add? I appreciate your insights on this current market.
Yeah, there's one other thing that I do that's really helping a lot. I always try to set up clients with a login to the MLS, just as if they were a buyer. And I basically set up an MLS search for them that shows them all their competition. And I also do that as soon as possible. So as soon as I know they're thinking about selling the home, I set that MLS portal up with them. And most people take me up and start paying attention to their competition, because having them watching their competition is really helpful when it comes to those strategic decisions. Do we have to make a price reduction? It's when they're seeing their competition come on the market and go under contract while they're still sitting. you don't have to make the point. The market did.
Sounds a lot easier too. You don't have to do anything. Just set it up and let them shop. Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I appreciate it. All right, Sally. Sally Prell is going to join us next. In the last 6 months, Sally has had 6 listings and her average days on market has been 10. So she is selling homes 70% faster than the average MLS right now. So Sally, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Can you
Will.
hear me?
I can. Sally.
I got Willis.
Sally, what are you seeing right now when it comes to seller pricing expectations, and how are you doing so well and successfully setting those to get that average days on market well above average?
Well, thank you for sharing that number because I was unaware of that. That's great. And I'm thinking back to the listings that I had. And, I think for me, it's finding the comps that are comparable and really digging into those and understanding the market, especially like in the nearby neighborhoods, and looking really deeply into those comps. Like what updates did they have? Comparing, did they have a finished basement? Did they not? The yard, that's a big thing for people. How is the yard compared to the listing that you're going into? And really digging into that with your sellers, I think is really important so that they can see, where they compare.
Excellent. Have you had to lower your pricing or have that, price reduction conversation in this market that we're having right now? And how did that go? How'd you know it was time?
I have 2 different situations, actually. One recent listing, I felt that it was high. It was a newer home and, it had a lot of great features, but looking at the comps, I felt that we were coming in a little high, but I said, let's give it a try. And after 2 weeks, we had very few showings, very slow open houses. And, it's hard to get a lot of feedback when you don't have a lot of activity too. So it's like just me saying like, I think you're a little high. But they were willing to go down and we reduced it 10,000 and immediately we had an offer about a week later. So I think, and then sharing those stories also I think is important when you're going to a listing appointment and, all the numbers are showing that, this is where we should be. I think sharing, again, like Marcus said, sharing stories is really important. On the other hand, I had another listing recently, and we were getting very few showings, not a lot of feedback. I felt like we were a little high. And after 2 weeks, I called the sellers and we had this conversation. And they said, it's only been 2 weeks. So I think we also have to lower our expectations because we also have been in this market that, things are selling right away. And when it doesn't sell in the first weekend, you're like, okay, why didn't that sell? So we also have to lower our expectations in this market. So we kept it on and it eventually started getting more activity. Another thing that I did was I had and I know we don't see them as much anymore as a broker's open. And that brought other agents in and they provided their feedback, which was really helpful to my sellers. And they actually listened to the feedback from some very good agents because they were going to let the new buyers replace the carpet. But after the feedback, they said, you know what, let's go ahead and do that. So instead of lowering the price, that's what they decided to do.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sally. Anything else that you want to add?
I think one more thing I was thinking about with this, as far as working with buyers and you're going through homes and you agree, your buyers, and you agree that it's overpriced, I think you need to provide really good feedback to the agents, to the listing agent, whether it's through the app or even calling or texting them, because it's hard as a listing agent to always be the person giving them that information. So I think as buyer's agents, we have to do a good job in providing that feedback as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sally. I appreciate you pouring into the group this morning.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff John's out in Lake Country in the last 6 months, 15 new listings and 9 days on market is his average, which is almost 73% faster than our average days on market. So Jeff, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Tell us what you're doing out there in Lake Country. What are you seeing right now when it comes to setting seller expectations or navigating this shift in the market?
Yeah, I think this time of year is always a bit of a challenge, just because there's some uncertainty, right? Like when it's spring market, you kind of know it's going to be picking up, so there's more room for error if you get the price wrong a little bit. But this time of year, you really have to be dialed in because if you're wrong even a little bit, um, you're probably not going to get offers in the first week, and then you're going to have that difficult conversation with the seller. So yeah, I think it's just really, really important to be a little more dialed in this time of year. And as we get closer to the new year, I think the conversation starts to become, maybe it is in your best interest to just wait a little bit, even if it's late January, mid February. I think people are usually a little better off than they're going to be in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'll say.
Yeah. What are you bringing to those listing appointments and how are you doing that research to price ahead of the market when you're going into these listing appointments? Are you that direct with them or what does that conversation sound like?
Yeah, so I always bring like comps, just like everybody. But I think one thing that's maybe a little unique is I always bring active data because I think it's really important to see what your competition is. Because like if you're listing, let's say a condo, I don't know, in Waukesha, and there's maybe 1 to 2 others that have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, then maybe it's okay to look at some past data, see what's sold in July, August, and your price might not be affected as much. But if you start looking and you see 8 condos, 9 condos, you're probably going to have to go under the competition, or just ask the seller, like, here's everything available. Where do you think you fall in terms of the competition? Because that's how the buyer's going to see it. They're going to look at all of these, and we want them to think that yours is the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want the group to know about how you're pricing in this market or any stories or examples on why you're crushing it?
Um, I don't know. I actually just had an expired today. We were on the market for 3 months, and unfortunately, I feel like we listed it in late July, and I was kind of nudging the seller to try to get it on the market in June or early July, and I think we just missed the boat a little bit. It was a 4-family property, so it was a little more I don't know, unique. It wasn't just your typical single family house. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just get it wrong, and I that was a buddy, so I didn't maybe do the best job with having that conversation up front about like, hey, here's what happens if we don't get any offers in the first couple weeks.
Sure.
So it's just a good reminder to me that even in July, and even if it's a friend, probably don't forget to set that expectation.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate you this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, next I'm going to share some notes with Sara. Sara wasn't able to join us live, but I had such a good conversation with her yesterday. And for those of you that know Sara, she always kind of brings a different, unique perspective to all this and focuses a lot more on the mindset and things like that. So she said I could share some of the notes for our conversation. We talked a little bit, of course, about what's happening locally. And Sara went as far as to say that it might be switching more to a buyer leaning market. And so in her being even taking it one step further, I said, you are definitely pricing in the future for you to call it that already when the numbers aren't telling us that. Communication and skills. She said her new idea is to under promise and over deliver. She's all about what we heard from the other 3 this morning, setting realistic expectations early to protect that trust that she has with her sellers. The seller communication, she said the same thing as Marcus. She's also putting them on MLS searches in the location of the sale to do a lot of that kind of convincing for her so that they can see that, stay really informed, really engaged, and knowing their competition, not just her doing the research, but them doing it as well. I really liked what she talked about in terms of pricing and timing. This was similar to what the other said in using 90-day comps as your most accurate guide and to base the adjustments on data and not on the emotion. Know your market's true average days before reducing price. And sometimes, like the other said, it's smarter to relist rather than reduce. And she said that might not be popular with the room, but she said, I prefer to expire it, take it off, instead of dropping in the price. Some listings may benefit from waiting until spring to re-enter the market, which is something that we kind of heard from Jeff in terms of his recent listing. She also talked a lot about buyer mindset, which I found really refreshing, because when you think about dropping prices, you just think how you're going to coach your sellers and talk to your sellers about it. But when you're working with your buyers, there's a lot for them to learn about this new market as well, which is a lot of the homes that have been sitting, they aren't flawed. The market just shifted, and it might be the perception that they're flawed because they weren't priced appropriately. Prices reflect adjustment and not defect. She said she encourages her buyers that this is a window of opportunity on some of those properties that have been sitting. Sara also talked a lot about how she's using this time that's a little slower to really educate herself. And I said, well, what are you educating yourself on? You've been doing this for a long time, and this, that, and the other thing. And she said, I read a lot of books on outside the industry, having difficult conversations, the art of persuasion, the mindset, all these things that are also so important in terms of sharpening our skills when going into some of these conversations to build up her mindset. So appreciated Sara's time and pouring into the group as well. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate it.
Mandy, I just put the
Yes.
PDF document in the chat. So if anybody wants to R&D that price strategy, I put the PDF in the chat. You just click on the chat on the bottom of your Zoom, and you can just download it there.
Excellent. Lindsay, for those who aren't here, can you, where are we going to put it? Facebook? It'll be in the Facebook group. Thank you, Marcus. All right. So all of this really comes back to that shift book, Tactic 7, which is pricing ahead of the market. You can't chase the market down. You have to price ahead. So I hope that you guys will kind of take some of the things that we learned here today to go into this new market with clarity and pricing well and confidence in terms of the opportunities that each market brings for different people interested. We're going to wrap up with some training and education and then go through last month's awards. Training and education, our October calendar is still out and rolling. We're working on getting November already, which is crazy. We only have another week here of October. Great opportunity today, this morning, in the Lake Country office with Cream City Mortgage. They're getting weird. They're going to talk about some interesting plans they have to help people get approved for some interesting things that we're seeing in this interesting market, and how your lender needs to get a little weird to sometimes make things happen. So join Gustavo out in the Lake Country office this morning at 10:30 for a lunch and learn. I wanted to talk again about Opportunity Knocks. All of those teams who are participating, we sent you guys a really great brand kit. The better this event is promoted, the more talent comes to the event. So this event is open to people all across the industry. So feel free to share it. Feel free to invite anybody. It's a great opportunity to just find talent, find a team, learn about teams, and it's at the Zufari Conference Center, October 30th from 3 to 5. I want you all to save the date for an incredible opportunity coming up Wednesday, November 12th at the Women's Center in Elm Grove with Stephanie Minnick. Stephanie has been kind enough to lead this group in a business planning clinic. And when I talked to her about this event, she said her goal is to really make this event go beyond the numbers. She wants it to be a workshop format to help all of you build your 2026 plan that actually reflects what you want your life to look like and feel like, and how your business is going to fall into that. But to really just focus on the whole person and not just on your business. So that event will be Wednesday, November 12th from 9 to noon. So mark your calendars for that, and more details to come. You should have all received some snail mail. Did everyone get some snail mail? The holiday party is coming. The holiday party is going to take place Thursday, December 4th at the Pfister. For those who haven't looked, it's going to be really great. We're doing dueling pianos this year, and it's just going to be a really fun event. So make sure to RSVP if you haven't, and we look forward to seeing you all there in your blue, white, and silver formal attire. All right, last but not least, we're going to wrap up with awards. I have September's numbers for you all to share and to inspire you as we power through Q4. So let's dive right into September's awards, starting with our home run club, which is 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, and 1 contract closed. This is the list that everybody wants to be on, especially at this time of year. Next, we have our $1 Million Month Club for September. So congratulations to this whole group of hitting $1 million in the month of September. Percent of volume increase year to date. So shout out to Lori, Angela, Jordan, nice, Brad, Brittany, Angela, Jean Van Dum, Sean, Mary Walgren, Frank, Melissa, Judy, Roger, Allison, and Omar. Congratulations. Gross commission earned for agents on a team: Steph Miller, Janine, Ginger, Martha, Newbie, Maggie, Stephanie Minnick, Betsy Williamson, Megan Stale, Will Stale, Casey, Kathy, Katie, Ellen, and Emily. September for individual volume, we have Jean with almost 4 million for the month of September. Becky Thomas right on her heels with 3.8 million. Laura Stoner, who's new to our world, joining us down in the Racine location with over 3 million. Sarah Reardon, Robin McCormick, Kimmy Anchensky, Paris Hebner-Reese, Katie Egan-Keen, Greg Wagner, Ethan Masson, Judy Moffett, Lindsay Andrews, Doreen Drummel, Melissa Bradley, Annie Stabler, Mackenzie Brogan, Mark, John, Nicole, and Christy. Congrats on a huge September. Year-to-date individual units, John Molitor leading the pack with 85 units year-to-date. Sarah Overbrunner, Abby Wall, who just welcomed a baby. Congrats, Abby, incredible. Lindsay Andrews, Judy, Becky, Kristen, Joey, Mary, Becky, Allison, Alexandra, Melissa, CJ, Jessica, Kimberly, James, Jean, Shireen, and Elena. Year-to-date volume, we have Becky Thomas, Jean Jaskolski, Sarah Oberbrunner, Mary Deacon, Elena Zeman, John Molitor, Judy Moffett, Allison Maris, Abby Wall, Joey Carini, Carla Florence, Kristen Stahulik, Becky, Lindsay, Melissa, Jessica, Angela, Robin, Nada, and Mary Beth. You guys can cheer for these people. This is a big numbers. There's some big numbers. Yeah, quiet room. September team volume, moving over to teams, we have FRG with 27 million, Highmark Real Estate with 18 million, Stale Realty with 8.8, MTM, Root River, Enlighten, Revolution, House to Home, Fair Hinton, Milwaukee, Rotino Kuiper, the Seawork Group, On Point, Levine, Losanecki, the Sold by Sarah team, the Thai team, K. Schmidt, the Wessel Group, Kindred, and Holt Real Estate team. Year-to-date units, Houseworks Collective with 241, followed by Root River with 186, and Falk Grove and Gallagher with 175. Then we have Stale Realty Group, Levine Realty Group, House to Home, On Point, Rotino, Fair Hinton, the Thai team, A Key Home, Pluster, Revolution Realty, MTM, Duval, Dusty's team, Holt, the Wessel Group, the Gossman Group, and Champagne. Year-to-date team volume, FRG with 165 million, Highmark with 152, Stale, Gallagher Lake Country, and Root River Realty bringing up our top 5 for our year-to-date team volume. All right, thank you guys for joining me this morning. And if you haven't downloaded the app, please do so. Thank you.